the call. Hello, Guru Prasad Rao.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hello, Abhinav. Hello, Joe.
Morning.
So we can start the session. Mr. Nitin Chaudhary will join in mid of the session.
Okay, how about Daniel?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thanks.
Hello to everybody. Hello.
So, okay, we'll get started on this session. This is on the opportunities in additive manufacturing for sustainable manufacturing in Industry 4.0. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be the moderator for this session. We have a very light panel as part of this session. It's a combination of the AM machine manufacturers. We have Joe from US, and then we have the service providers. Guru Prasad and Nitin is yet to join, and then of course we have from the CAD point of view, Mr. Daniel, who is representing DESO. So it's a very elite panel. I will take about just a couple of minutes to introduce the session, and then we can get on with the panel. The Industry 4.4, which is going to be there for next 5 to 10 years. The key technologies which are being addressed as part of this is the smart manufacturing is one which we'll be talking a lot during this session. But apart from this, of course, we have the IoT, the cyber security, as well as the cloud computing, which are part of this. And to be a smart manufacturing, we will be leveraging all these things and then see how we can connect end to end of manufacturing, leveraging the additive manufacturing. When I say end to end, this is more in terms of right from the raw material which is required to produce the part to the tools which are required to manufacture the parts. Then, of course, managing the inventories, and then finally reaching the customer. That is where additive manufacturing is going to play a big role in each of these areas. Just want to give one of the example which we had in Honeywell. This is a part which was designed about 50 years back. This is one of our engine, a flight critical component. This is a bearing housing. And 50 years is too long a time. And then the supplier who was making this part was no more existing, but we still have about 15 engines which are flying. To make this part, if we had to go to the conventional way of manufacturing, it would have taken us more than 2 years, because we had to develop the new tools, the casting tools to make these part. But we could quickly do it out of additive manufacturing. We could demonstrate that this part meets all the performance requirements. The qualifications still look little time because it's a flight critical component, but it's a good example of how smart manufacturing can be enabled through additive manufacturing. I will say that additive manufacturing is not going to replace the conventional manufacturing. It is, in fact, both the things will complement each other to address this smart manufacturing, which Industry 4.0 is eagerly looking at. We will remove some of the barriers which were there because of the conventional manufacturing. Maybe we'll come out with a very innovative designs which additive manufacturing can enable. But we will be complementing with the conventional way of doing the things. So without taking much time, I will get started with the first speaker, which is Abhinav. So Abhinav is the managing director at Thyssen Group Innovations. So he leads he is the chief strategy officer as part of this. So he has been, he's written a white paper on the adding up growth opportunities for ASEAN group. His MBA gold medal for finance and strategy from XLRI, and then of course he's basically a metallurgist. So he has looked at additive manufacturing as a technology, how it can help 4.0. His topic is on industrialization of additive manufacturing to take into the industry 4.4. Over to you, Abhinav.
Thank you, Dr. Kulkarni, for the introduction. Let me quickly share my screen. I'll need the sharing rights.
Yeah, Vivek.
Yes, sir. Rights given to you, sir.
Yeah, perfect. Please let me know if you can see the presentation in full screen.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Great. So thank you again, Dr. Kulkarni, for the introduction. I lead our additive manufacturing business for ThyssenKrupp for the Asia Pacific region. And I wanted to cover two messages in my talk today. One, give a global and business perspective on how has been the adoption of additive manufacturing as a technology, and then also share some examples of what we are doing as a company, as a global German company, on using additive manufacturing and providing solutions to our customers. So if you look at the technology overall, it's been around for last 30 years, and it has shown a very solid growth progress. It's been growing in double digit. In the last 7 years, it has really accelerated and has moved from now a sheer prototyping technology to more and more towards small scale and now at industrial scale production. So we have seen more than 26% growth rate. And going forward, we see a very strong continued outlook for the technology. And fundamentally, this has been driven by three factors. We have seen declining cost of both the printers, materials, post-processing throughout the value chain. We are seeing more and more versatility of the kinds of parts, both in terms of size and materials which can be printed. And also, I would comment recently in the last few years, because of the macroeconomic developments of the trade wars and also last year of the COVID crisis, we are seeing an increased focus globally on localizing production, having more resilience in supply chain, focusing on sustainability for the planet. And all these are fundamentally favorable for additive manufacturing. So if I reflect on this journey, I think it's been a very strong, robust growth story. But if you put this in the context of the overall manufacturing opportunity globally, which as a lot of people also commented in the previous session is around 12-13 trillion dollars, it is only 0.1%. And most of the adoption of additive manufacturing has been restricted to 4 sectors. So we see a lot of adoption by aerospace, in automotive historically, and then dental and industrial tooling sectors. And our hypothesis is that this was driven primarily by a very clear-cut benefit of using the technology. So when you look at aerospace, for example, DFAM or design for additive manufacturing offers a completely unique capability to lightweight the parts, to reduce the number of sub-components required, and that translates into fuel savings, which can be easily quantified. Similarly, when it comes to medical or a healthcare sector, customization of prosthetics, implants is extremely important. And there, again, the technology offers a very unique advantage. So while these sectors have been the early adopters because of a very clear business case of using the technology, we strongly believe as a company that there is tremendous opportunity in other sectors as well. And it is high time that we actually expand the pool of sectors which are actively using additive manufacturing, whether it is marine, maritime sector, industrial plant sector, or even consumer sectors for these applications. And part of this is driven by some of the myths which are still prevailing in the industry around how and what is the potential of technology. So when we talk to our customers, a lot of time we hear this feedback. It is only a prototyping technology, but that's not true. We have here an example from Boeing, but also in the previous session, we heard a lot of examples where 3D printed parts are put in applications. They're sent to space of all the places, right, for their applications, and that proves the amount of capability and maturity 3D printed parts already provide. Similarly, when it comes to critical applications, a lot of people feel it's only suitable for non-critical applications. But actually, we have seen examples where 3D printed parts have been used at very high temperature, high pressure uh, environments. And then the other common myth is too expensive for adoption. So here it is a very case-to-case evaluation, and I'll comment on this a bit more on where the technology makes sense commercially to adopt and where it does not. So for example, there are examples of parts where 3D printing has reduced the cost. In this case, an example from Volkswagen from $900 to $23 for a wheel protection jig, along with the lead time savings. And similarly, in terms of sizes, as we keep on innovating the technology, we are seeing more and more printers coming up which can support large scale parts. And today we talk about building and housing construction using 3D printing. So if you reflect on what we saw through last year regarding the COVID crisis, there has been a huge push from businesses on industry to build more and more resilience in supply chain. And what that fundamentally means is how can we eliminate single sourcing of parts? How can we have an increased inventory of critical parts? How can we nearshore these parts closer to where we have to consume? How can we regionalize supply chains? And this wish list of supply chain heads and managers is exactly what the 3D printing or additive manufacturing technology meets. So this technology is fundamentally suitable for reducing number of subcomponents, reducing supply chain complexity, building a digital warehouse. We can give many examples, but we believe that with the current focus on supply chain resilience, actually additive manufacturing gets even further push and momentum to be adopted by businesses because it is a very proven methodology of building that resilience. And while it does that, it also becomes more sustainable because you have reduced material inputs, lower energy consumption, and lesser transportation volumes to be carried out. So this was an overview of how we see the industry and how has been the evolution of the technology. But now I wanted to switch topics and give you an example, a very practical example on how we are seeing this panning out for us and our customers. So we have been working on additive manufacturing for the last 7-8 years as a company. And a couple of years back, we started focusing on maritime sector as one, apart from automotive and industrial plants, to use this technology. And we partnered with Wilhelmsen Ship Services, which is a big Nordic European company in the business of ship parts maintenance. And together with them, we offer an end-to-end solution to our customers to find parts for shipping vessels, port authorities, which can be 3D printed, design these parts, work with class societies like DNVGL, Lloyd's Register to actually test and assure that these parts are as good as a conventionally manufactured part, and then work with a huge set of partners who can print this part, provide the post-processing solution. We also have our own printing facilities in Germany and in Singapore, and finally do the fulfillment. So our belief is that when you set the whole ecosystem from discovery of these parts all the way to fulfillment, then it becomes very easy for our customers to adopt. And all of this is offered over a platform. There are two ways our shipping customers or maritime customers can talk to us. They can order parts from a catalog, which is put on a platform. They can log in and see what are the parts which can be 3D printed. And these are parts which are not just technically 3D printed, but also have a business advantage in terms of lower cost and faster lead times. Or they can ask for a custom part on demand where they can send a picture and some design specifications, and we can fabricate this part for them. So far we have seen more than 3,000 shipping vessels globally using this service. We work with a network of more than 30 fabrication partners in the region and globally, and we already have a catalog of 500 plus parts. And on the right hand side, you see some examples of what are these parts. So this comprises both of generic parts, which are not proprietary to a particular OEM or company, like the ventilation louvers, impellers, wing nuts, gear wheels, scrubber plugs, or also the OEM parts where we work with Japanese, Koreans, European OEMs to design their parts using additive manufacturing and put this on a platform. Here is one example of a part to make it more real for you on what the technology offers. So on the bottom left, you see a very conventional wall block, which has been produced in such a manner for last 30-40 years, and using design for additive manufacturing, using topology optimization. On the top right, you see a completely new design, which is 80% reduced in weight, has much better flow properties, low permeability, low flow losses, and much faster lead time. And we also got this certified by DNVGL, which is a testing and certification agency for maritime, to ensure that our customers understand that this is as good, if not better, than the conventional part. So I wanted to just end this note on or this talk on this note that as you think about adopting additive manufacturing or 3D printing, we need to focus a lot more on what is the business case behind adopting this technology. Then only it is sustainable, and then only it works for you and your customers. On the right hand side, you see an approach which we follow, where we look at what are the technical considerations of a part to be 3D printed, what is the supply chain implication, what's the business case, does it really create value compared to a conventional part or not? And if not, then we recommend not to be manufactured. Our belief is today a lot of parts can be technically 3D printed, but on an average, only 15% of these parts make a business sense, a commercial sense to be 3D printed, because they're able to lightweight it, because they're able to reduce the logistics cost, the inventory storage cost, and have a much longer product life, which is still a lot, by the way. We just to compare the contrast this, we said the penetration today is 0.1%, and already the technology is mature to give you a 10 to 15% penetration. So we still can grow 100 times, and it is up to us to find these applications and work together as an ecosystem to further grow this technology. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and I'm happy to continue the discussion and answer any questions. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions. There is a way we can support you as you think about additive manufacturing adoption. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhinav. Thanks for being on time. You touched upon the adoption of AM by the industry. What are the myths around the AM, and what needs to be done to clarify some of those myths, and also on the supply chain resilience and how that can be addressed through additive manufacturing. Thanks for that wonderful talk, Abhinav. So we will take the questions at the end. We'll get on with our next panelist, Daniel Pajak. So just to introduce Daniel. So Daniel has a vast 35 years of experience in the CAD, CAM, and the PLM industry. The last 20 plus years, he has been with Dassault as part of Dassault initiatives on the CATIA front. He has been driving the additive manufacturing things, what can be enabled by these CAD/CAM tools in the Dassault industry. So over to you, Daniel. So we would like to have your exposure, and then how you see that additive is going to play a big part as part of Industry 4.0.
Thank you very much for this introduction. I hope you can see my screen. Is it okay?
Yes, we can see, Daniel. Go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm very happy to be with you. It's really an honor for me, and I hope I will make it in 8 minutes. So let's have a look at the Dassault Systèmes solution for additive manufacturing. The good news with additive manufacturing, as you know, is that it starts from a CAD model. You always need a CAD model to start to do 3D printing. Okay, so software 3D CAD is completely integrated in additive manufacturing solution. So the ambition of Dassault Systèmes is very large, is very big, because we believe that if you don't manage the material, the product design, the process, you are missing something. It's why we are delivering not only a technological platform to do new material dedicated for AM, new design tool dedicated for AM, new process simulation tool dedicated for AM, also MES, Manufacturing Execution System, dedicated for AM. So besides this technological platform, we are also offering a business platform for people who want to have a 3D printed part to connect with 3D printing companies and make their deal and make business. Okay, so it's what we call the 3D experience marketplace. So if I start first with the 3D experience marketplace, it's very simple. You can be a software user, you can be a SolidWorks user, you can use any other software. You can connect to our platform. you can download the 3D model data, and you can interact with a 3D printing company and make a transaction, business transaction. They will print for you 1, 2, 3, as many parts you want, ship you the part, and of course use industrial way of payment. We have the same capability if you want to use your own marketplace just for your own supply chain or your own company. Engineering, the challenge is very simple. How can we certify existing material for AM? How, more important, can we engineer new material for AM? You know that some technology of AM, like direct energy deposition, for example, can combine multiple materials. Okay, so you have to define the mechanical and thermal characteristic of those new materials to be able to predict the service, the part when the loading of the part when it will be in service, and some fatigue analysis, for example. If you look now at what I call the new CATIA is really aimed at design for additive manufacturing, not only for lightweighting, it is integrating advanced topology optimization tool for a mechanical designer, but it also integrates, because only 3D printing can produce such a part, it also integrates lattice, which is an extra way, another way to gain extra weight on a topology optimized part or not. This is the new CATIA. Once you do that, you can also use our solution. It's called Apriso. It's called DeLineaWorks to do the manufacturing execution system, the monitoring, the shop floor management, the production optimization. In the previous talks, we saw that in some industry, additive manufacturing for serious production is already mature, like life science, for example, it's true. But in this case, you will need to manage your additive manufacturing printer, like your CNC printer or inspection CMM machines. Now I go back to what we call print to perform, the core of this small introduction to our solution. The good news is that once you have designed your part in CATIA or other software, you can directly work on the CAD model, no STL file. You work directly on the CAD model to define the printing process and simulate the printing process. The good news is that we are not only supporting the powder bed fusion process, which was the most important, the more asked by our customer, but now we are also supporting direct energy deposition and material extrusion. Okay, typically what we want to do, we want to directly use a CAD model, exact CAD representation, use or put on the build tray as many parts we would like to print. Most of the time is as many parts as possible, so we have nesting capability. We define the supporting, we define the slicing, we define the laser scan pass, the power of the laser, or if you have 4 lasers at each location, and then be able to, of course, feed the machine, for example, a Trumpf machine, but also feed our AOS machine, but also simulate what is happening during this printing process. You know, it's very violent process. It's like welding, okay? So there are a lot of big gradient of temperature, which are leading to a residual stress. And you can predict this residual stress with our solution. And then you take into account this stress, and you can either change the parameters of the machine, the parameters of the process, to get less stress and then less deformation, or you can compensate on the CAD model for this distortion. So this is what we also are developing right now. We also are able to drive CNC machine or robots to either create from scratch a new part by just depositing material or energy, like you can see on the left upper screen side. But you can also use, it's very, very popular now, more and more popular, robots to do large parts. Additive manufacturing is not only 500 by 500 mil by 500 mil size. Okay, you can do huge parts, but for that you need to use the right technology, which is energy deposition, for example, or material deposition. And what is also more and more used in this area is to use additive manufacturing to repair parts. It's why it's also sustainable. You are not re-buying a new part, you are repairing existing parts. And you can also combine both, why not, the CNC, which is the finishing operation with the additive manufacturing, which will be more the roughing operation that you can see here on this panel. Oops, sorry for that. What is extremely important in simulation is that, as I told you, additive manufacturing is extremely violent. You have a lot of events from a metallurgical point of view occurring, and of course, a lot of distortion and residual stress. What is important for people is to be able to validate the part in service. So if you keep the history of everything which is happening during the printing process, during the cooling down process, maybe you are using heat treatment, maybe you are using heaping, hot isostatic pressure. What's happening if you want to do a very nice and very accurate in-service fatigue analysis, for example, of your part. It's very important. So this is what the solution, the 3D Experience Platform, allows you to do. That's why we call that print to perform. You don't want to print just for printing because you are looking for a part, an active part, in-service part. And finally, you can see that the additive manufacturing process is a very, very very complex. A lot of different simulation plays a very, very active role. But sometimes simulation is not the only solution. You can print the first part, scan with a 3D scanner the first part, with or without the support, by the way, and integrate the scan data into CATIA to compensate, to deform on the other direction, to get the right part. Not the first time, because the first time the part was not good, but for at least for the second time. And our solutions, 3D Experience, cover not only, let's say, the first step, mainly design, but also the rest, the manufacturing steps to manufacturing execution of the production if you are using additive manufacturing for serial production. So takeaway, one collaborative platform, material engineering, design optimized for additive manufacturing, the process simulation and the process preparation, so you can directly drive all your printer from the collaborative platform, which is a 3D Experience platform. I hope it was maybe too fast, but that you understood what we are proposing. And I'm very happy to be with you today from France. So many thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Thanks, Daniel. It's wonderful to see the capability of CATIA managing all the stakeholders, including the build simulation, what can be done to see how good is the quality of build, and then also addressing the typical the production system. It's nice to see that tools are gearing up to address the Industry 4.0 requirement for smart manufacturing. Thanks a lot. We'll move on to the next speaker. Next speaker is Dr. Guruprasad Rao. He doesn't need any introduction. He has been sort of a pioneer in the Indian industry for additive manufacturing or 3D printing. But as a formality, he is the director and mentor of Imaginarium. Basically, his passion has been to see how 3D printing can be used in multiple areas, whether it is medical applications or it is jewelry applications. So he has created his own stamp in coming out with real innovative designs. So he has done his PhD from IIT Bombay and MDes from product design from IISc. He has been in multiple platform as either as a member or as a mentor. So he has been on the industry bodies like CII, FICCI, NASSCOM. Basically, his passion is to drive 3D printing and additive manufacturing. And his topic is very, very relevant. He says how we can aim building a smart world. So that's been his topic. Over to you, Guruprasad Rao. The team is eagerly waiting to listen to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boban, for such a generous introduction. And it is like for me homecoming to see all of you on the platform CII, and I will try to share my presentation quickly. Hope you can see the slide now.
Yes, we can see.
So today I would like to see how we can touch upon this AM building a smart world. A lot of been told about this wonderful technology. In fact, it is not one technology, but a multiple of them, basically. So manufacturing world's new challenge has been agility. With a production line, you cannot achieve. You need to be agile. And the last pandemic crisis has actually made it clear we need to innovate. And I think in the crisis time, which is always there because time to market was always, I wanted yesterday kind of situation, AM is going to emerge as a smart technology. And so AM, and as all of us know, it is not about liquid material or powder or filament. Many people know the 3D printing as a particular thing what they have exposed to, but it is a set of technologies, and it has been driving adoption because of 6 reasons, smart reasons. One is part consolidation, that is making the number of parts to one, kind of thing. Making quick jigs and fixtures, need for lightweighting, not only for aerospace and airborne systems, but also for the terrestrial vehicles. When it comes to EV, payload becomes a very important thing. Complexity, India, jewelry, yellow gold, yellow metal is something very, very, famous. And complexity, that's where actually Imaginarium entered the world of 3D printing. But if you can do jewelry, you can do anything because it is so complex. So we have a great handle on the handling geometry. The need for one part, and that is economic order quantity can be just one, and we can still, that's where we go for 3D printing. And need for customization, which is very, very important in medical field. And we can see, looking back, what started as RP became 3D printing, and today we are calling it as, so-called additive manufacturing. That means making millions, capability, but we are at reaching there, yet to reach there. And AM feature, if you see, the future can be smartly done through accessible, reliable technology, acceptable quality, material for the real world, controllable systems. Anywhere in the world, you can sit and control the systems, and that's what is required, and predictable results. These are some things which are going to create such a thing. And accessibility was brought in by the open source. Many things came, but reliability is something which could not be promised or ensured, and you can see today we have a desktop for every technology possible, and few of them actually are industrial grade and they offer reliability. And in fact, this is going to drive adoption in India. It is not about the low cost. It is not about the highly reliable but very expensive system. But can we have a industrial quality thing available, affordable? Then it will drive the adoption in India. And in fact, such a thing has happened. Luckily, Formlabs has offered many range of things which are very good. They can give challenge to the reliable systems, what we can find, which are very expensive. Metal is going to really help us build a smart world, because in the world we need a lot of metal because which are stronger and long lasting. And there are a set of technologies again there. And GE Additive, we have been partnering with the best in technology when it comes to offering services. We recently got up, joined hands with the GE, and we have been able to offer a research lab capability to a serial production capability. That is something which is really going to make the adoption very rapid. And also, how can we have smart systems which are not only built to make parts, but also to analyze them as the part is being built with in situ monitoring, for example, or analysis with real-time data, for informed decision making, So these are all pushing the smartness to reach to Industry 4.0, where you can control everything with a button. And so it's really making, AM metal to fly. Smart technologies also are enabled by smart design. Like Daniel suggested, a lot of things are going to depend on design also. And smartness is built into every part system by using design for additive manufacturing, a new design approach. And there are two ways to imbibe this. One is part consolidation or getting geometric freedom, and biomimicry, which is just imitate nature, observe and imitate. And today, not only the LEAP engine fuel nozzle that is spoke from GE, we have world's largest, most powerful jet engine, which could consolidate 300 plus parts to a 7 part, with a lot of advantage, And today, additive manufacturing really is becoming smart, looking at heat exchangers, where you have cooling ducts or conformal cooling, which are very, very only way we can do by AM. There is no other way. And in fact, iteration of optimum design is taking its great efforts today because of the computing power and AI. And you can see here, design and fabricate smartly with smart tools has been going on with so many softwares to our advantage today. It is wonderful time to be alive, because we are able to do anything what we want most optimally. And materials for the real world also very important. So there has been a lot of material. When I started in 90s, we had just 1 or 2 material. Today we have 500 plus materials. Then digital materials, which are really making a great thing. In fact, cooking for every use has been, Imaginarium's forte, and we did a clay printer, ceramic printer too, and complex geometries in small batch quantity will be the future need. The manufacturing term may go out of fashion because it will be customization will be there in every aspect. So smartness will be delivered to world through design thinking, customization, need for a small batch quantity, even one, optimization, and value delivery. You can see here, smartness can reach every individual customer. In a mundane thing like a Gillette razor, one can actually aspire to order his own at a click of button. And that is the beauty of technology. And smartness is also built through, many other aspects like compliant mechanisms, productivity, product life cycle, and profit are going to follow. And in fact, the smart world of future will look like this, where individual designer artists may depend on a cloud factory, while the OEMs and others, the manufacturers will depend on the machines to make. And it is going to be there, enabled by Industry 4.0. And I think AM along with CNC and robotics will make the manufacturing trinity that has a smart role to make the so-called the physical side of the cyber physical system, and that's what we can see, which is going on. And I think with this, I would like to end my talk, enabling industry, creating value through all our services, be it jewelry or automotive aerospace or medical or solutions or academic or the venture fund we have. We are here to spur the industry to its next level, building future. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Guruprasad. I think you addressed it very nicely, the part of the smart world, smart manufacturing, looking at the agility, the accessibility, which additive manufacturing is providing, and more importantly, how we can customize it to each of the customer needs. It's nice hearing to you and then the initiatives that you have been taking at Imaginarium, Dr. Gurprasad.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to the next speaker. I think Nitin is on the call. Is that right, Nitin? Nitin, are you able to hear us? Nitin joined a little late, but I heard he has joined. Vivek, can you confirm, or otherwise we'll move on to the next speaker?
Mr. Nitin, can you hear us?
I think he has some difficulty, so we'll move on to the next speaker. Then we'll come back to Nitin. So our
can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Nitin. So are you good to go ahead?
Yeah. The only problem is I'm connected from my mobile. So if I get a call, it's getting disconnected. That's the only problem. Nothing else.
Okay, let's hope that you will not get any call in next 10 minutes. So that's the best. So a quick introduction to Nitin. So Nitin, as most of us know, he started this Sri Rapid Technologies in 2007, and then he has been providing end-to-end solutions with additive manufacturing. Of course, before starting his own company, he worked with Mahindra and then with Tata Cummins, and then he started his 3D printing career in Empire Machine Tools. So he has a vast experience of almost more than 20-25 years today in the additive manufacturing. So Nitin, we would like to hear from you on the additive manufacturing opportunities, and then how a company like Sri Rapid will look at additive as part of Industry 4.0. I will share my screen, Vivek, I think, since he's traveling. So can you allow me to share his slides?
Sure, sir. Yes, sir, you can share your screen now.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Let me know once you're able to see my desktop. Able to see my desktop?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Nitin. Go ahead.
So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, CII, for giving us this opportunity for the presentation, as well as a nice introduction by Mr. Vaman Kulkarni. I would like to start with this. What are the opportunities we have in 3D printing industry in the world? So I'm mentioning about is there is a traditional shift being happening in the manufacturing industry from conventional manufacturing into additive manufacturing. And people have started realizing certain workflows are being very helpful compared to the conventional workflows. And also becoming on-time mass production is also becoming a reality with the 3D printing technologies. And it's also becoming more affordable and it's more and faster speed than the conventional manufacturing. So these are some of the basic advantages what we are getting in 3D printing technologies with the use of 3D printing technologies. So in the end, we can see a lot of additive manufacturing workflows are emerging, and these workflows are becoming industry standard now. And that's how this industry is absorbing these technologies to the different application markets. Right, please. So one of the now very old, this industry has been using 3D printing as a manufacturing technology, and now becoming a rapid manufacturing system for all.
You are breaking, Nitin. I think he has some challenges with internet connection.
Yeah, there is some bandwidth issues there.
You can show us the slides, sir.
Yeah. So the whole workflow is being changed as well, and space and making IoT devices. And this is majorly, if you see what is common, this is it's all customized products. It's all customized. And one of the advantage, and this industry is almost working to need to make any special tools for production, and also it is also making the organization very agile, and they are able to do customization in jewelry in space, and they are able to also do design for production flexibility. So there is a big change what we are able to see with the use of technology, and also showing they are able to do distributed manufacturing with this technology. The designing and digital designing and digital input can be at one place and product other place. So this completely distributed manufacturing is happening with the help of 3D printing, and we are able to do shorter development cycle as shorter go to market. So how if any new person wants to see 3D printing technologies opportunities he can have in the market or in the future, so the 3D printing forward. So one thing is that what we can see is the 3D printing has to as a reliable manufacturing process, and that is in the process now. So a lot of manufacturing engineers at 3D printing is also a way of manufacturing, and as it starts getting accepted as a manufacturing process, the designers will start designing products which can be only made with. So the purpose of 3D printing is not to do something which can be done conventionally. Major purpose of 3D printing is to do the products and develop products which cannot be done conventionally, which can give you a much more functionalities than what you could have got. And that is when, and we are able to see this shifted. Dental is already shifted. Aerospace and defense is already in the process, realizing that they can make much more complex components, and they don't have to worry about the for making manufacturing. It's going to be possible with conventional manufacturing, and they can actually free-form manufacturing with the help of 3D printing. Another opportunity, what I think is also going to be training and education, because I see a big additive manufacturing engineers as well as additive design engineers, and I see a lot are setting big AM departments with 300, 400 designers, because additive manufacturing is going to be a way forward for future smart factories. Purpose is the industry is definitely going to need a lot of skilled manpower workforce to capable products. Very in education as well as the manpower and workforce. So we also see a lot of large OEMs promoting AM. This is also very crucial, and I am also seeing a lot of education taking part into this and realizing this need and making special additive manufacturing courses along with the OEMs, along with the big manufacturers. And I see the whole industry, education, OEM, RPA, 3D printing manufacturers forward. So 3D printing is also a key technology in, and it's also a main part of the smart factory. So we call it in future, and we can definitely going to have virtual inventories on our we'll have all the inventory digitally, and we are actually producing on demand as well as when able to supply. A more customized, more batch manufacturing good, more complex products getting designed with the help of 3D printing. So, printing, if anybody want to set up the 3D printing facilities, I think with this presentation, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Nitin, for going through that. The things which are needed to make the smart manufacturing. Then you touched upon the workflow, which is changing based on the new initiatives which is going around the additive manufacturing, the distributed system which is enabled by AM, and then also the need for a skilled manpower, as part of which the trainings at the education institutes will play a very big role. Thank you. Thanks, Nitin. So we'll move on to the last speaker, which is Mr. Joe from EOS. Joe has been.
Mr. Joe has dropped in. So let me check when he's joined. He's dropped out. Mr. Joe has dropped out due to technical error. He's joining back in 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So meanwhile, shall we take the question and answers? So any questions from the audience? Till we have Joe joining us. If there are, we'll wait for any questions from audience. But meanwhile, let me ask a couple of questions which I feel is relevant. The first one is, this is to Mr. Daniel. You talked about the CATIA, which is enabling almost like an end-to-end capability, including managing the whole process. Wanted to check with you. Is there any aerospace or automobile industry who have deployed CATIA, leveraging all the capabilities of CATIA? And if so, if you can share a couple of examples, that will be good for the audience.
In fact, we have, as you see, the scope of what we are covering is huge. It's true that today, most of our customers are using CATIA for the design of topology optimized parts, for example, in aerospace, but not only in aerospace. I just want to mention that we have more and more customers using our solution to design for additive manufacturing parts for industrial equipment. People doing machines. In Italy, we have a socks machine maker, okay? and they are doing that to reduce weight of some important parts which are rotating very quickly, to reduce the inertia, to be able to go faster, okay? We have people doing 3D printer are using also our technology, heavy machinery. So it's not only like waiting for, like it was initially triggered, a satellite or aircraft, but it's also machine parts, okay? So it's quite nice. We have also people doing high tech using additive manufacturing in our solution. But if you come back to your solution, the big company doing aircraft, for example, in North of America, are using the complete scope because it's large OEMs, okay? But we have also a lot of university which are concerned by having this complete scope of design, additive manufacturing, programming and simulation. Simulation is very important. I don't know if in the audience you have probably a lot of people who are very, very skilled in additive manufacturing. My experience is that when you are good, very skilled in additive manufacturing, maybe you are just, the failure rate is 15%. When you are extremely good, 15%. Where you are a beginner, 85% is the failure rate. Okay, so it's a very complex technology, much more than maybe we can think of, especially if you are doing metal parts. Okay, don't talk about this combination of multiple different metal. It's just a beginning, just a dream. We are just at the beginning of that story, even if the technology allows to do that. But again, yes, we have more and more customers using the complete scope. Most of them today are mainly in aerospace, transportation and mobility, industrial equipment, but also marine and offshore. Because you can imagine that if you are doing a big ship, you have a lot of parts which are very, very heavy, maybe very as simple as a door, okay, handle. So if you reduce the weight of 1,000 door handle, you are gaining weight on the complete ship, okay? So you cannot imagine how many different type of scenario and parts people are doing now, topology optimized or not, and then additive manufacturing. But key is simulation.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I think tools are becoming smarter, and then tool is almost ready to take this smart manufacturing to the industry 4.0 requirements. So, and whatever feedback which gets in, I'm sure the tools will be upgraded to meet those challenges. My next question is to Guru Prasad. You have been in the Indian ecosystem for almost 25-30 years, looking at what has happened in the additive manufacturing area. What do you think could be a real game changer if we have to make a big shift in adopting additive manufacturing as a production manufacturing tool, even for medium and large volume requirements, Guru Prasad? Could be from the cost point of view, or even could be from the skilled manpower. I just wanted your perspective so that Indian industry gears up for Industry 4.0.
Well, I think it's very important. Technology has arrived today, and it is having much more capabilities as what we saw 30 years ago. Today, we have softwares which are going to help us to simulate and find out whether it works or not. And to some extent, designer is losing his job. He has to curate in future, because artificial intelligence is going to throw a lot of options. But what computer cannot do is choosing, what is good for me. So I think designers of future will concentrate on optimizing and curating design for the world. That's mostly. And what will help in adoption is the technology cost, especially for India, it has to come down. While we say ROI, don't look at ROI, but look at so-called creating value like 10x or 100x. But I think it is very important that the technology cost should come down. The input material cost, because of the automation and all the way material is built, also should come down. This will help if we have more players coming into the area, and more technology becomes open source, and you have more and more. For India especially, we need a lot of desktops to enter. So industry need to get addicted to this technology, and then it becomes contagious. Once they become addicted, then they try for bigger ones, bigger systems. Investments will go. India has a lot of money. I think, I think somebody has sound coming, harmonics coming in the background. I don't know where it is actually, not from here. And so I think it is very important that technology and material cost should come down. Overall, that will really help in adoption. Otherwise, we have everything. We know where to apply. We have good software tools today, and we have good technologies which are showing reliability. And we have many new systems which are coming into market. Our Industry 4.0, where Industry 4.0 ready, with sensors, cameras, and whatnot, and
Guru Prasad, I think Joe has joined back.
okay.
Maybe I think you rightly told mentioned about the cost of printing, whether it is machine or the material. That is, we still see there's a big gap in the Indian industry. So the industry should look at the opportunities for next
One
5 years.
point I want to add here. One point I want to add here. New business model has to emerge. New business model, like instead of selling machines on cost or price or anything, people can lease model can be there, or it could be any other. There's some innovation has to happen in how we acquire technology, how we use that. It feels like
yeah, true, Guru Prasad. Yeah. The business model should not just like a service provider or just building some of those skills, but if it is not leveraged properly, then also it's going to be a challenge. The new generation may move away. The hype is so much around this 3D printing. I think we have to sustain this whole thing. So Joe, you are on the call, Joe? Are you able to hear us?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Sorry, I got cut off. And now I can hear you very well.
Yeah, I'll quickly introduce you to the panel. Joe is a AM consultant at EOS, and EOS is a big company making additive printers with all the technology, with all the AM technologies. So Joe has been with Powder Bed Technology and then managing the aerospace and the space business. He has been working with DRDO Labs, ISRO, and and he's been part of the SEMILAC in arriving at the qualification and certification standardization. That's a big initiative which is definitely needed. So thanks, Joe. I think his topic will be on how AM can shape the future technology. So over to you, Joe.
Sure, sir. I would need the sharing rights. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we can see now.
All right. Excuse me. So my topic for this session would be how additive manufacturing is shaping the future of manufacturing altogether. Two sections, in fact. One little bit about EOS and how we take the technology to the market. Now, EOS is not a new name. We have been 30-year-old company in additive manufacturing. I believe the history goes like this. Everybody started with stereolithography and then going ahead with polymers. And if you see the patent for direct metal laser sintering, where the metal started, we were the first one to commercialize metal 3D printing for whole world, and that is a phenomenal approach. And today we have more than 3,700 systems in market, predominantly on metal, and then of course we started with polymer, so we also have polymer machines. And so the goal at EOS is, as rightly mentioned by the CA personally earlier, we also follow the sustainable development goals at EOS, and that we achieve through innovative applications, whether it's infrastructure by means of fast charging with copper, or I believe we were the first one, or till date, we are the only one who can do both amorphous and semi-crystalline, also crystalline polymers. So this is where we drive the industry. And for climate action, one unique initiative that we have done is to work on life cycle assessment for entire product, since raw material is available and till the end of life product, not just only the cost of manufacturing, which I believe have been talked a lot about. How can we reduce the cost and then move into production and things like that. But if you understand the life cycle of a product, I believe that has got a better scope than just cost of manufacturing. So the final goal in sustainable development goal is partnering for growth, in fact, and this has been the traditional way people at Europe or at US, where the companies go on for decentralization, and even Japanese do a lot, even to a level of African market and things like that. So this has been the traditional way, and in fact, we have done one product in India for a defense product at Indian Air Force through one of our customer called Rapid DMLS, where this particular product usually are imported, but with a very long lead time to procure, almost 3 months to arrive at Indian Air Force. But when this product came in hand, we were able to deliver in overnight production. And in fact, it performed much better than the expected landing of 50 landings, more than 250 landings it has crossed. And I believe this is the first ever product to fly in India. So this has been the traditional way how localized manufacturing can help. But going forward, how additive manufacturing is to look after a completely automated production scenario. Let's say at Honeywell, somebody from Phoenix, Arizona, if they want to see what is actually happening on the machine today, you can do that. And that's where the whole industry is moving ahead of. So a little peek into the lab, what we do at US, today we are able to control a machine remotely even. So whatever the sensors that we have in the machine, you are able to, if you're connected to your own server, your company server, today you can access the machine through your server. And that we in fact tried it with one of our customer called GKN, and this is what they had to say. They ran almost more than 50 builds, 50 complete builds, and then they said, okay, they have tried different material alloys, they have tried different connectivity programs, and today they see that the utmost thing that came out of this particular exercise is on how reproducible these parts are, and how the processing environment has impacted the part property. And in fact, they use their own materials of water atomized particles, not only gas atomization. So altogether changing the production process, unlike gas atomization. So little bit on the adoption. Many people always come to us saying, okay, I have a very complex design. Can I use additive manufacturing to realize my design? Well, ideally it will work out, but in reality it doesn't work out. What I always tell people is, if at all we have learned anything from industrial revolution for the past 3 or 4 industrial revolution, we and that defines the functionality of a product. And in fact, we have to work back on the manufacturing process. And additive manufacturing is one. This is how we need to define our warehouse, CNC or cast fruit or anything, depending on material. Kind of productions and on whether that the bit of cost that can offer the benefit of design. So one example is here. I think this is the most important example because they use one of our system M280 machine, and which in a standard process parameter would cost somewhere around $40. Today it is now in $4. This is what we talk about innovation, not just multiple lasers, not just cost reduced powders and things like that, but what we are able to use our mind and then define the process parameters is all about. Let me tell you what it is. So considering this is one particular example of heat exchanger, which can fit in your palm, and that if you make it with a standard process parameter, probably your cost is $1 or and if you optimize only the product or the process, probably half of it in fact. And if you're changing the design a little bit in order to suit your application as well as production process, it's 34 euros. And the time taken to produce such a huge part is 52 hours time. That's it. Same way in terms of product property. If you see RA value physical property, 25 microns, very rough. And if you edit, probably you'll increase 40 minutes of your time. But if you are able to get 33 parts at a RA value of 3 to 4 microns, that's where we are going in for. This is where we have to use our intelligence and make use of what hardware that we have, and then define a production process. Now, another example, and again, what you today you see somewhere around 10 centimeter cube per hour. We are in fact achieving 1.3 kilograms being made with 316L with the M300 machine, and that is where we are put in our minds to innovate the process. So many times people come to us also asking if at all we can have custom material like nitinol or metal matrix composite, aluminum, things like that, aluminum 2 series or 7 series, and things like bronze for marine application, Inva for space. Today, our lab is open for you to experiment. If you have a powder and you wanted to experiment it, just give us a call. We'll be able to try out your powder. Of course, on a milestone basis, we achieve at a certain density and then see what mechanical properties that we can achieve, and then how we can take it into a series production of statistically controlled process. So another innovation is also on hardware. Mr. Vaman have already, Dr. Vaman have already told us about 1 meter size. This is the 1 meter size machine. What you can see here, people holding it over their head, is a 1 meter size part, copper base part, which is used in space application. So these are my few last slides. What have we learned? One example, even I learned from my own family, is my mother used to teach typewriting, and at the age of 52, she learned computer to teach the children. And one example that I looked at similar in the industry is the press industry. Earlier, the news gets collected till evening, and then they go on with manual press alignments, right? It took a lot of time to get the newspaper, but then they changed to lithography. What have we been doing about creating an operation sheet? We start to even simulate a production process today to understand how much time it will take, correct? What they were earlier doing with manual press, we switched to DTP. And what could be something like this, a traditional way of making a tool and the finished product could be something like this, as Dr. Guru Prasad mentioned. Agile infrastructure. Your additive manufacturing is just one tool which can make multiple parts, automotive, oil and gas, aerospace, all under one single quality. It reduces a lot of efforts on tooling, right? So that is what that is where the industry is moving, and that is where additive manufacturing could help in a risk-free asset. And how many of us carry newspaper to our office to read it at our leisure time? No, right? Not many people. We carry our mobile. And this is one code which Warren Bennis have told, and I'm also very fascinated about it. In the factory future, there will be only 2 employees, one a man and a dog. The man will be there to feed the dog, and the dog will be there to keep the man away from the machines. So that's it, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Joe. So a good insight on how UOS is gearing up to meet the smart manufacturing requirements as per Industry 4.0 in terms of building it faster, or having able to handle a much bigger part, or a new material needs to be developed. And you mentioned that your lab is open to everybody to come and try out. So that's how this whole technology will develop, and then and I'm sure this technology is there to will be playing a big role in this decade. Thanks, Joe, for that wonderful talk. So
Pleasure,
we've
sir.
almost come to the end of the session. So in fact, we have overshot by almost like 10 minutes. I don't think we have any time to take any questions. So any of the audience, if you have any questions, you may send it across, and then we will see how that can be answered. So thanks to the entire panel for making this a very, very interesting talk. And I'm sure the audience would have gained a lot to see how we are enabling the smart manufacturing with additive manufacturing, especially to address the needs of Industry 4.0. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Over
you.
to you, Vivek. So if you want to close the session.
Yes, sir, we can close the session. And thank you so much for all the delegates, panelists to join in today's session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye from France.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Daniel, for taking
Bye-bye.
all the trouble from joining from France. So.
It was fun. Good. Thank you.